Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
And I'm Andrew Sabo.
And this week we are talking about episode 627 of Adventures in Odyssey. This one is called Life in the Third Person, Part 2.
Shortly thereafter, Part 1.
Yep, one week as far as airing goes of that show and this show, provided nothing catastrophic happened in between, the airing of last week's episode.
No national security crises or anything. Or crises, as it were.
Crises.
Crises.
Crises the day, Andrew.
This is my favorite Walk in Love shirt.
Word association. The game!
Welcome back, friends. Didn't you miss this so much? Dylan, let's talk about this episode. What's the cast situation looking like?
I mean, it's the same as last episode.
Oh my gosh, you're right. It is the second part.
Wild. And the writer-director, still Paul McCusker.
Glorious. With just heavy-handed notes from Kathy Buchanan.
We have to imagine. Yeah.
Either that or he had some really good relationship therapy with his wife recently, and he's just feeling particularly insightful. Which I'm here to root for that.
Yeah, I mean, this is post his conversion to Catholicism.
Wait, what? Paul McCusker? We've talked about this on the show. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I just keep forgetting that he went from evangelical to Catholic.
Yeah. It's wild, but yeah, I think that's 2005. So
there you go.
Maybe he's just overall in a better headspace at this point. Nope, Ties That Bind still hasn't come out yet.
Yeah, no.
It's not in a better headspace. I take it back.
Well, was the Ties That Bind pre or post Pope Francis? That's my question. What's Paul McCusker's opinion on the new Pope?
Yeah, and what's Paul McCusker's opinion on the young Pope?
That was really good. Probably equally concerned, is my guess. I don't know.
How about Netflix's The Two Popes?
Yes, The Two Popes. And
good movie. Watched it with your brother.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I think so. Pretty sure.
Huh.
Yeah.
Nice. I've been meaning to watch it, but I got turned off by the fact that there was subtitles in the beginning of it, and I wasn't up for, reading the movie I was watching.
Poor Andrew.
I know. It's a privileged life I lead.
Yeah. The weebs must hate you.
They do. I do watch anime sub though. I am a firm believer in sub, mostly because American dubs just hurt my ears a lot, and I feel like it does a discredit to what's actually trying to happen.
Sure, unless it's vintage, Speed Racer. Great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Speed Racer.
Astro Boy. Those are the two that I could think of.
Yeah. Naruto has a really good dub. There's a handful of other ones that have Cowboy Bebop has a really good American dub. Okay.
There you go, folks.
This has been Anime Corner.
Yeah.
The first and only time.
You know what? We've got plenty of friends who live in that sphere who could come on the podcast. Actually,
certainly.
If it didn't come up, Andrew Taven loves to talk about anime. So
really?
If it didn't come up in his episode, if we ever have him back, it'll come up.
What do you mean if? When we have him back, we're talking about anime, Andrew.
What's the most anime Odyssey episode?
Oh, that's hard.
Right?
It's gotta be
those are pretty diametrically opposed
things. Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's got to be one of the Imagination Station episodes.
Oh,
maybe.
Yeah. Wait. This is the worst take. Is it the Night Travelers episode of the show?
Kind of. Yeah. I was thinking of
with Not Blackard as the villain. Guys,
yeah.
listen to our bonus podcast in which we covered the Night Travelers.
Oh yes, it was roughly 15 minutes of
I'm still holding out for Faust to come back.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. I mean, goodness.
If he doesn't, that's a waste of Earl Bowen.
Fair. Speaking of Earl Bowen, Odyssey.
Speaking of Odyssey, promo.
Next time on Adventures in Odyssey, Mandy lies on a hospital bed What happened? I was trying to fly.
It gives Mandy time to think.
Mandy lies in the hospital, knocked down by a car, and she's all alone. She wonders why she thought being alone would be a good thing.
Be sure to listen to the next Adventures in Odyssey.
Good promo, but they made Mandy seem so sincere about trying to fly in that.
No, it definitely could have been like a kid ties a kite to his
Right.
back and jumps off a roof.
It makes it
situation.
sound like this is an Icarus adaptation.
I was trying to fly. I went on that one imagination station adventure, and I really thought I could touch the sun.
Yeah, and then my wings melted off because wax.
Cause wax.
He just used tar. It wouldn't have been a problem.
This tar melts.
It was a joke, Andrew.
Okay, fair.
It was a tar and feather joke.
Okay. My bad for not seeing that one coming.
No, it's honestly my bad for trying to make that joke.
Hey, man. At what? Episode 169? No, 159. Wasn't last one 158?
Probably.
I want to say this is 159.
Okay.
There's been bound to be a few duds every now and then.
No, all my jokes are great, otherwise they get cut.
Mm-hmm. You do have the master leverage in that regard. Mine, on the other hand, only the bad ones make it in the show.
Oh, yeah. I cut. Guys, you have no idea how funny Andrew actually is.
Yeah, no, it's.
I cut out all the gold because, I gotta make myself look better.
Yeah.
Can't be one-upped by this boy across the table from me.
Well, I don't even, produce the show or anything like that. You can't just have, your color commentary come in and steal all the limelight.
Yeah, exactly.
It's good. It's balancing. Speaking of balancing, Mandy was not balanced when she got hit by that car, which is where this episode picks up.
Man, we were just killing it with the segues this episode. And Mandy wouldn't have gotten hit by the car if she was on a Segway.
Amen. And she wouldn't be in the hospital if she was hit by a Segway.
That'll preach. Mandy lies in the hospital.
Yeah, she says she feels silly.
That's her
pathetic,
internal
and
narration, which persists this episode.
Which is delightful, honestly. I want more Odyssey characters and episodes, and I recognize that it's kind of a gimmick and whatever, and they end the episode in such a way that they
Gimmicks are good.
I love gimmicks. I think this is a great gimmick. It could definitely be brought back.
Yeah.
I think it makes perfect sense. Give Jules an internal monologue episode.
Yeah.
Perfect. Maybe
Sure.
Buck post the loss of his father, however that happens.
Nah, dude, he's just going over to Africa.
Yeah.
Or maybe he lives with Connie and the rest of his family goes to Africa. We'll see what happens.
We'll find out.
Look,
Totally not be disappointed.
we'll make sure to sync up our Leonard Meltzner saga episodes with whatever they wind up doing with Will Ryan so that it makes thematic sense.
Yes. That's the kind of commitment we have to this show.
Oh, yeah. We're all about making thematic sense.
Speaking of which, tune in next week where we cover the Aloha Oi 3-parter.
Right, which is totally related. I mean, dude, what did you think we were going to cover after the divorce saga?
2 families going on a goofy Hawaii vacation? Duh.
Full disclosure, Andrew picked the episodes.
Yeah, Dylan is not excited, but Andrew is very excited.
I'm excited for Andrew to get to pick episodes.
I feel like I should have picked better episodes.
What are you, dude? They're going to be fun. It's going to be great.
Oh, it'll be a blast. I love them.
Look, we need to stop talking about what we're going to do and just talk about the episode.
Oh, yes.
So Connie shows up at the hospital inexplicably.
Yeah.
The last episode ended with Rachel getting the call.
Mm-hmm.
And then this episode just didn't have that. And it also, I really appreciate Connie in these episodes. I love Connie. I do not want less Connie.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird that she's here. And also, I kind of wish we had Elaine instead in this opening scene. Just because, we've gotten to see Elaine as, the mother figure. And we got to see her support Rachel last episode. And I would just have loved for her to, walk in with... I guess it is... It's probably enhanced by this just being Mandy and her mom.
Mm-hmm.
But there's cool stuff they could have mined if Pseudo Mom was there as well.
Oh yeah,
But
definitely.
Connie is great. I don't know how she's here. She talks about she accidentally walked into a room where they were putting a bunch of stitches into a guy's head,
Yeah.
which like they don't do that in like
No,
a
no.
room that you would stay in a hospital.
No.
So she walked into like a doctor's office or like an operating
No,
room.
yeah, she walked into an operating room. She's in the opposite wing of the hospital she's supposed to be in.
I mean, it's Odyssey Hospital. It's probably got one wing.
Yeah. I mean, probably 2 wings and then maybe some thighs and breasts somewhere, but
Wow.
anyway.
Tar and feathers as well.
Yes, oh, naturally. That's in the ER, of course. Yeah, but Connie talks to Mandy about their divorce, and Mandy kind of confesses, how weird it was when she got to the hospital, and they were like, we need to contact your parents. How do we do that? And she's like, actually, I don't know. And this is a really excellent moment where Mandy doesn't really understand what she's experiencing, but Connie, having had the previous experience, comes in and is able to like give really good language to it. Like she says, like their breakup makes a lot of smaller fractures.
Yeah,
and that's
I also have that written down.
so good. It's like it gives me kind of like when a rock hits your windshield while you're driving on the highway, and obviously your windshield doesn't shatter, it just kind of splinters off in a bunch of different directions. Gives me that kind of a mental picture, and it makes a lot of sense because, the fact that she didn't know how to get in touch with her parents, while it is serious in this instance, it's really just a small fracture of this much bigger thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And she talks about escaping from the pain.
Yeah,
Mandy
and Connie
does.
talks about not being able
yeah.
to escape.
Yeah, she wanted to run away because Mandy wanted to run away. And she wanted to escape from the pain, and she kept running, but she kept feeling like she was being dragged back into it, and really, escapism turns out doesn't work.
Yeah, and Mandy talks about really struggling with not being in control during this, which really hit me as a person who loves control and loves to know what's going on and loves to influence things. That level of helplessness is so rough. And she also has the just a really solid line talking about how everyone is less happy than before. And I think that is such an important detail as we come to a close on this arc and where it ultimately ends, is this thing that it's like they have stretched this out for a while, and where we've had moments where it seemed like with Steven getting his new job and whatnot, like things were exciting for those people, but like the dominant thing, because we've been going at this from Mandy's perspective and from her brother's, is just like the unhappiness. But when she puts it into words here, you can see like, oh yeah, especially building off last episode, like nobody has gained anything here.
Yeah.
Like
none of the parties involved
they
are
separated
benefiting.
because like they couldn't figure out how to make it work. But separating also didn't fix anything.
Yeah.
Which I think is just like a good template for how this can go and the kind of story they're trying to tell here versus other stories of separation and divorce which go differently.
Yeah.
Like I think
Well, divorce is very common in shows and everything like that, and you obviously get presented a lot of different situations and relationships of one party benefiting more or less from the separation and having reasons and, ways that they perhaps, either abused them emotionally or physically or, weren't respecting boundaries.
yeah.
But you don't see any of that presented in this narrative. And so what we're left with is just kind of everybody is not happy.
Right. the way it is portrayed through this arc is very much that like things fell apart because they stopped working to keep them together.
Mm-hmm.
Not because of any clear wrongdoing from either party.
There was no infidelity. There was no abuse.
Some verbal jabbing and whatnot that we really saw in that first episode with Liz at the dinner table.
Yeah.
So there definitely tension, and I think for that, the time away has definitely lessened the tension.
100%. Yeah.
Like, not since the catastrophic Mandy puts on a play and casts her parents as themselves.
Yep.
Has there been tension that we've seen in their relationship?
Yeah.
It's been some frustration, some understanding, some resignation.
Yeah, a lot of kind of just there was a word I was looking for that's not resignation.
Apathy?
Never mind.
It's okay. But yeah, it's just it really goes to show here of just the like it makes for their coming back together to make more sense.
Oh yeah.
It's a thing that we were struggling with a bit last episode where we were like, all right, if this thing just goes as like, hey, we didn't pray, and it does do that to an extent.
Yeah.
But I think little things like this really hit home for what they're trying to do here.
Well, and they've also done a very good job of showing both sides of the story and showing David's perspective kind of evolving, or even if his perspective stayed the same, the way that he's communicating his feelings has evolved from being kind of blindly optimistic to being resigned to being actually actively frustrated.
Yep.
This opening scene is really incredible. Connie makes a comment like, we aren't free in control. As much as we want to be free and in control of our own lives, most of the time we don't have that. And obviously that's what got Mandy in the accident in the first place.
Yeah. And Mandy gets to have the like added vulnerable great moment of just being like, I am mad at God. I can't even pray at this point.
Yeah.
And
Connie's like, yeah, I figured.
yeah, this is the thing
Which is good.
I adore in this scene is Connie going, yeah,
that checks out.
Look, yeah, I get it. That's what we're here for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why all these other people were praying for you.
Which just, yeah, that is a thing that we talk about all the time on this show, and I talk about all the time in my life, but just like that the church is really bad. The church can be really bad at partnering with people who are going through hard stuff without just trying to shove a solution at you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And especially this, they're kind of forced to, in this, not have a solution because it's out of Mandy's control.
Yeah.
And so I love Connie just being like, yeah, I get it. It makes sense. I trust that if I give you space and whatever, God can work through this. Like, you'll come around.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to sit here and chastise you for being mad at God.
Yeah.
Or say, well, if you would just, like, you can't be mad at God. Like, he's going to work this for good. Just, get back on your knees and praying and it'll work out. Like, there's a very easy rewrite of this scene you could do like that sucks.
Yeah.
And so I love the depth of just like, hey, what if you like work through this to, yeah, like, what if we don't force you to come to a solution right here and just acknowledge your pain and be like, it's fine and I get it.
Yeah. I would argue that's the example set forth by Christ, where, I mean, he offers alternatives, but he does not command such things. And when he encounters people suffering, he does not be like, what are you doing, you idiot? Like, pray to God about it. Like, he's like, no, God is coming to you. God is here holding space for you and providing love and support in this moment. And then once you've secured that space, once they feel safe, then they're able to look and with clear eyes see the wondrous path and opportunity that, you know, a truly different way of living has for you. This scene ends with Mandy crying and wanting to conceal it from her mom, which is a cool little, obviously, continuation of what we've seen previously. And Connie being here to witness all of this is like, well, don't you think that, like, she should know and all of this? And Mandy's just very concerned because she doesn't want to make her mom upset.
Yeah, she doesn't want to burden her with this.
Yeah,
which is a thing we've seen through these episodes. Is Mandy holding back because she's also like a good empathetic human who like gets her mom's going through stuff too.
Yeah. No, and obviously she probably learned that from her mom, and it's really hard, especially kids going, children of divorced parents or parents going through a separation, to know how to talk to their parents about their parents' problems, especially at, like, in a really young age, like Mandy is. You know, I mean, if she was, you know, a senior in high school, I'm sure she'd have a lot more comfort being mad at her mom or expressing her feelings more openly. But now it's...
I mean, depending.
Yeah, depends.
Not everyone has that relationship with their parents.
Fair. But yeah, no, I'm glad that we get it.
It's a great performance by Arya Curzon.
Yeah.
And when she breaks into tears, it just wrecks me.
Yep. Mm-hmm. It's so compelling. Her voice acting is just, I mean, it's moving.
Yeah. And I care about Mandy.
Yep. As previously established.
Then we jump over to Chicago, where they're at a diner, and David's been whining all day, and his dad is fed up.
Yep. He's complaining about the size of his burger. So supersized burger in Odyssey, that'd be a teensy-weensy burger.
Which, you know, new thing to know about Odyssey. They've got big burgers.
Big burgers. I'm not surprised they've got pretty ample-sized portions.
Now, how big do you think the pizza is at Wits End?
I'm going to go with the gentleman's 8-inch. I think it's an 8-inch pie. I think maybe you can special order a 10-inch pie from Wit, but I think what he keeps in the freezer.
When we found out there's pizza at Wits End, guys.
Yeah, no, I can't forget it, and it's not good. My guess is it's got to be like DiGiorno, right? Either that.
It's not pizza. It's DiGiorno.
Yeah. Either that or Wit is absolutely just making it all from scratch, fresh every time for everybody that wants a pizza. You know, he's just got some dough, you know, every day or whatever, and does that. Which, power to him. If he's got infinite time and money as God, why not get into pizza making?
Andrew, what if they're English muffin pizzas?
That's frustrating. That's an abomination. We cannot use such... I mean, I love pizza, English muffin pizzas. I think that they are the next evolution of bagel bites. And pizza rolls as well.
Next evolution.
Yeah, I think that they're tastier.
Thinking about a thing that I've had since my childhood as the next evolution of something is very funny.
I think that it's the next natural progression for bagel bites is to branch out into the English muffin territory. It's a bit wider.
Yeah, okay. Look, we've got a lot to cover in this episode. I can't keep derailing us with pizza. I'm sorry, guys.
God, so, I want an English muffin pizza.
Yeah, no, me too now. Steven just kind of, talks about like him just, I'm doing the best I can given the circumstance. Like, try to cut me some slack. And David's just like,
sure, Dad, you're doing the best you can. Yep. That's why you did absolutely nothing and we moved away from our problems. And then he gets a phone call, and it's the one-sided telephone call, and you can kind of tell that he got called by
Rachel. He says like, Rachel?
Rachel? Yeah.
Yeah.
About Mandy, obviously.
Mm-hmm. And then, we jump, we jump back to the hospital.
Mandy's still talking to Connie. This
Yep.
is when the fact that she narrates her life in the third person gets addressed.
Yep, and Connie's like, yes, I also used to do that when I was stressed out.
Yeah.
So, it would make sense for Jules to do it. Runs in the
right?
family.
Right? Young adult things. I mean, I've been known to do it. It's happened once or twice in my life.
We've talked about it.
Mm-hmm. Go listen to that episode. We'll
yeah.
be here.
And
Pause
then-
it. Come back.
And then Rachel shows up, and the nurse continues to have the world's worst bedside manner.
Yep. Yeah.
She's so bad.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, I can understand it because Rachel's coming in and she just wants to see her daughter, and the nurse is like, your daughter has not received any painkillers for her broken tibia.
Yes, for sure. However, the nurse getting huffy
True.
when she's like, can I please see my daughter,
Yeah, that's...
is tough.
No, it's tough and it's bad. It's a bad
Also-
look.
How far away is the Timothy Center? Because the Timothy Center is on Tom Riley's property, right?
Yeah.
And never got the idea that was like hours away.
Yeah.
Like, I know it took a while to get her, and she had to, get a ride from Elaine back. But,
I'm guessing from... It's been like an hour, maybe, which is more impressive for Connie showing up in that hour than anything else.
right, I'm like, it could, right, Mandy couldn't have been in the
30
hospital.
minutes
Well,
away.
and maybe, and probably Mandy was in the hospital for a while before she became conscious.
Fair.
But still,
But still, fair. She definitely could have gotten there.
yeah, it's
maybe
just that thing where I was like, I'm very annoyed at this nurse being like, hey, lady, I know your daughter is in pain and you rushed over here as quickly as you could, but you can't talk to her. You just got to go sign some paperwork.
I need you to tell me what medication she's
And
allergic to.
I'm like, right, you can let her go in, give a hug, and then come in and be like, hey, can we talk through this real quick?
Well, the answer is you just say she's not allergic to anything, and then you walk in.
There's that,
most of
too.
the time, unless Mandy has some secret allergic relationship to
Macadamia nuts.
does, yeah.
I am allergic.
penicillin or something. What do you? I mean, they don't even use that for broken bones. Just is she allergic to ibuprofen? Is she allergic to Aleve? They're not giving her morphine. I understand she's a minor, but yeah, it seems definitely seems like she could chill a little bit, maybe a lot of it.
Yeah.
So they leave the hospital. Mandy's mom comes in and everything. Obviously, they have a really sweet connection. And then the next scene is them getting home. And Mandy is super excited to see the couch. She narrates it and yeah, I don't know, Dylan, when the last time you had a major injury was and you came home from being in the hospital and you're like, finally a different couch to lay on.
Andrew, I've never been in the hospital.
Not even for a broken bone or anything?
I have broke bones. They've never been casted.
All right.
Magic. I'm sorry. This is my least relatable thing.
No, it's okay. I'm proud of you. I'm surprised.
I've never spent a night in a hospital.
I've never spent a night in the hospital either.
Okay. I've not had
But you didn't. I mean, what about
surgery?
What about getting your
casting?
oil, getting your wisdom teeth removed?
I have my wisdom teeth, Andrew.
Oh, you nerd. Gosh darn it, Dylan. Suffer a little bit so I can relate to you.
I've been put under once.
Was it for oral surgery? Do you have to get a tooth removed?
No, it was to get a thing removed from my scalp.
Were you really young?
No. I had the thing since I was very young, but I got it removed when I was, I don't know, middle schoolish. It's got have you never seen my head scar?
No.
Yeah,
What?
I've got this wild head scar, which is why I will never have my hair shorter than it is now.
Fair. Interesting. Where is it on your head?
Right there.
Jock Squad.
Find it immediately.
For reference, it is on the backside of his head, roughly below the occipital lobe, if you know that region of the brain.
Yeah, I'll show it to you when we're done recording.
Yep.
But yeah, no, that's my like one surgery. I had some oral work done, but that was all done with local anesthetics.
Fair.
So.
Yeah, it's a good time. I'll tell you what. Getting home from surgery is very relieving. Also, if you haven't eaten anything, that first thing you eat post-surgery, presuming it's not your wisdom teeth, is just amazing.
Yeah, I did not eat my wisdom teeth.
I love eating wisdom teeth. I went back to the oral surgeon after I got my teeth pulled. I was like, man, can I get some more of those bloody Skittles?
Oh, I should cut that.
I really hope you do. But maybe not. I don't know if that's too far.
The idea of biting into a tooth is about the worst sensation I can imagine.
I need to stop recording. I've yucked myself.
Go yuck yourself.
Anyway, so Mandy gets home, super excited to be home, recovering, and her mom's taking care of her, which is really sweet to see because obviously she's been out of the picture for the past couple episodes. To see her kind of come in and take a very personal, like, oh, let me take care of you is very sweet.
Yeah.
And there's kind of like a catching up a bit because of everything that happened at the Timothy Center.
Yeah, well, Mandy's just kind of like, hey, can you, how did things go at the retreat? Mm-hmm. And Rachel like tries to brush it off and then is just like, I'm really unhappy.
Yeah.
I've it's really hit me now how unhappy I am.
Which is fair, and it's really good to have that kind of that intimacy and that vulnerability from your parental figure.
Yep. We love to see it on this show. I mean, and everywhere, but like it's
especially the show.
Yeah. And yeah, then she
she mentions that they didn't do enough to protect their marriage, which alludes to what you said earlier, kind of about the way that their relationship being portrayed is not one party, ripping away or doing anything.
It feels like a drift.
Yeah. I mean, just kind of like a really, I don't know, dusty piece of art that just gets dust and dust and dust, and eventually you can't see what's going on.
They got lost in the rock and roll.
Amen.
Drift away. I genuinely hate that song, so I'm sorry I did that.
Yeah,
that song and Wagon Wheel are like my arch nemesis because this is a song that gets broken out anytime like a cover band is performing, like when someone's just like strumming at a bar. They always do one of those songs and they are so earwormy.
Yep.
And I just hate them.
Yeah, I don't know how you cook up something that earwormy in a lab, but it is truly impressive.
Yep. So now I just did that to myself.
And everyone listening, congratulations.
Very upset.
Yeah, so again, back to their failing marriage. Rachel says like she doesn't know what she's going to do. She's afraid it's too late to kind of, make things better. And then the information is dropped that David and Steven are coming back on a plane to see Mandy, obviously. Mm-hmm. And then we go to the next scene, which is David and Steven on the plane, and they're having a really honest conversation. And this is really when we see David's character kind of come full circle and be very honest in a way that is mature and less cynical or jaded than we've seen his character be previously, where he's more vulnerable with kind of the way that his dad's relationship and separation has really affected him and how frustrating it's been and all of the ways it's negatively impacted his life. And you can tell how uncomfortable Steven is made by this. And it definitely gets spearheaded with David's comment, just kind of being like, well, like, aren't we worth it? Like, why didn't you make it work for us? Like, I understand it's not good, but, like, you do have 2 kids, and just make it work for us.
Yeah.
And And the conversation then kind of ends a little bit, and David kind of recognizes that everything he's saying might not change anything. And so he tells Stephen that, and he's like, this probably isn't going to change anything about your relationship with Mom. And Stephen's like, I don't know. And my biggest praise for this episode, I think, well, maybe not biggest, we'll go top 3 praise for this episode is both Mandy's parents say, I do not know, I don't know, at least once in this episode. And I think it's very powerful for kids to hear their parents saying that they don't know, especially when it's stuff that clearly is not like not easy and not working out. Like, it would be infinitely more frustrating for the kids to, feel like their parents are lying to them or pretending that they have it all together, or lying to themselves and saying that they've got it figured out and everything's fine.
Yeah. The other thing I love during this scene is David's talking about his struggling with his faith as a result of their separation, which we have obviously seen. But I mean, Liz draws a ton of attention to it in the first episode, but it is not. This is David acknowledging it.
Yeah. And
that's
really good.
Yeah. It makes for a good moment. The other thing is, I had to keep thinking during this whole scene, they are on a plane.
Yes. Having this conversation. Yes. 100%.
He's just they're on a plane. He's just out of the blue, do you think I'm wrong, son?
Yeah.
And I'm just and they're not talking in hushed voices at all.
And the person on the window seat is yes, you clearly are.
Yeah. I didn't, but then you asked me that mid-flight.
Yeah. Yeah, and so then they get back. They get back to Odyssey, yeah. That's the next scene, is them getting back to Mandy's house. Yeah. David runs in. It's so cute.
Oh, I love him as the older brother.
Harassing her
so
much.
You
faker, you.
They're be quiet. Mandy's up there sleeping. He's all right. Walks past. Ah, yeah. Mandy, I want the truth.
Yeah, you Academy Award winning faker. That femur's fine.
Yeah. Breaking out his best Tom Cruise there for the I want the truth.
Yes, exactly. And it's really cute and hilarious, and reminds me when I've done stuff like that with my little sister, which is just makes me feel warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
And then we get Stephen and Rachel, who are left in the kitchen to talk, and excellent audio engineering, excellent acting performances. It is, you can hear the tension, you can taste it, you can smell it. And the sounds of the coffee cups on the counters and everything is just incredible. It's very awkward. There's a lot of long pauses, and they kind of decide oh, I'll go make some coffee. Would you like some, kind of thing? But yeah, it's one of those moments that Odyssey doesn't do a lot, but when they do, it's incredible, where they can accomplish so much in a scene without using many words or really extensive dialogue to say where people are at, because they've just established it so well at this point. And really, the vibe that they're trying to get across is best accomplished through just awkward silence.
Yeah, and it's the scene between David and Mandy is so good.
Which is the next one, yeah.
Yeah, they're upstairs in their room talking about their parents' situation, and he talks about not wanting her to get her hopes up.
Yeah.
During this, and Mandy's like, you remember when Mom and Dad fought when we were kids, and you came into my room, we held hands and prayed.
Yeah.
And she's like, can we do that now? And David has the line of the episode, which is, if you're going to pray because you think God will make them get back together, or she says, will you hold my hand and pray with me? And he says, it depends.
Yeah.
If you're going to pray because you think God will make them get back together, I won't do it because he won't do it.
Just clear the room. Get this man a chair. Get him a hat and a scepter, perhaps. He's just absolutely spitting fire.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's
'Cause
really good.
It sets up a thing. I think there was an Mandy and Connie conversation earlier where she's talking about why doesn't God just change them to like each other again?
Yeah.
And Connie's like, that's not how God works. Like, he's not going to. Like, they have to get there.
Yeah.
And I love, and then this scene just builds so well off of that, because that, like, you think God will make them get back together.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it goes, like you said, it goes back to kind of the concession of control. And I think the naive, just youthful approach to prayer as a kind of genie wish granter, God is all powerful. And if I can talk to him, I can get him to do what I want, which isn't entirely incorrect, but it gives a false sense of control that God really wants you to relinquish. Like, if God's in control, the whole point is that you don't have to be in control to feel safe. And it's really, really powerful. And Mandy conveys that in this scene where she's like, I mean, I'm praying that God's will is done. Like, I'm praying that he would help me see the truth, help me see the purpose of all of this, and not that they would get back together, which is what she was doing before. And she talks about, doing everything that she thought she could do to make it happen, and, getting on God's good side so that our prayers mean more and all of that. It's so good. And then that scene goes out with Mandy praying in this new, very vulnerable, honest, and just beautiful prayer.
Yep. Meanwhile, downstairs, Rachel and Steven are talking, and she talks about just like, having been through a lot this past weekend, and the stuff that, she's just been thinking about stuff because of the retreat and whatnot. And he talks about like, I've been thinking a lot too, and I forget what the exact setup is for this but he talks about thinking about stuff while in Chicago, not on a retreat, and then like under his breath he's like, it was more like how not to be a real estate agent retreat. Yeah. And she says, and he says, never mind. And that is such a McCusker-ism.
Where he makes a joke to the audience
throughout the show. But like that specific joke format of mumbling something kind of like, I feel like George Barkley has done that exact thing.
Million times.
But like the mumble something under your breath. The other person says, what? And you just don't, and you just move on.
Yeah. Because it's the joke for the audience.
Right, for sure. And it's not, that's not like a trope that's exclusive to Odyssey.
No.
But it is like, I feel like one that gets leaned on a lot, and just every once in a while I catch in these re-listens, I catch those rhythms, and I'm like, familiar rhythm that is very, very Odyssey or very McCusker or whatever.
That's great though. You're exactly right. We probably will hear Barkley do something in Aloha way, like the kid with that.
Yeah.
And the comment of like, well, it won't be easy, and nothing worthwhile is easy. And it's, I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about relationships. I'm not married. I don't have any real success in that respect. But if I've learned anything from my parents, like 30 plus year marriage, it's that it's 90% work, and that's okay. And that like, you just have to find the person that you want to do that work for and do that work with. And like, you find your best friend and then you make them your soulmate kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And they do the back and forth. They do their back and forth here, and of kind of like, you say it. No, I'll say what, that whole kind of exchange. And then Steven gets to start, which I think works well thematically, because he's the one we've seen the least amount of movement from. So it's really key that he
is leading the charge of the change.
Right. Not for gender roles reasons, let me be clear.
No.
But because of the emotional development we've seen from Rachel, Steven has the furthest to come in concession. He also has the most to lose with the job and whatever else. Like, he's, gone through a lot here. And so to see him lead the charge is very, very appreciated. So it just, he's like, I think we're making a big mistake. Rachel's like, I agree. And then she's like, wait, on what? And he's like, on the divorce. And she's like, okay, I agree. And they're both like, it's not going to be easy. And talk about it. And talk about praying together. And praying together is a really cool and special thing, and I think we talked about this previously, just in this arc, but it is really impactful that it's something that they're participating in together, and it shows kind of just a collective effort, which is really important in a relationship, from my limited understanding. Don't fact check me on that. I don't know. Cooperation might not be important for relationships. We don't know. And we get Mandy kind of monologuing out on her internal monologue. And she has a great line about giving thanks to God, not for what she hopes he will do, but for all that he does.
Amen. Amen. I feel that so hard. I feel like what I do, my conversations with God consist like 60% thanking him for nature and trees and stuff, and then 40% complaints. And that's about it. That's the back and forth. Man. It's like, this sucks. This isn't going well. I need help. Yada yada yada. Trees are nice though. Thanks for those leaves though. Those are pretty cool. It's very real and cool, and love seeing these Odyssey characters talking about prayer in this way, which is, I think, different from, I don't know, the way that it's been approached historically.
Yeah, it's good.
And then we get a time jump.
Yep,
right?
we get a final scene. So this is not the original final scene.
Okay.
It's a new final scene. We'll talk about this one, then we'll talk about the other one, I think.
Yeah.
But so this is the only one that's ever aired on the radio, but is not the initial conceit.
Yes.
For the final scene. But Mandy comes into Wit's End, crutchless and castless, and her and Connie have an exchange. She talks about things being even better than before, that her dad's been commuting to Chicago, but that's going to end, that he's gonna find a way, like he's gonna be leaving that job. It's just not fitting with the way their life is now.
And I was like, Connellsville. Thinking about working in Connellsville.
I was like,
probably
man,
a booming economy out there.
This guy needs some post-pandemic work from home culture.
Oh yeah.
Stay
with the kids all the time.
Yeah.
It's done wonders for me and my dad's relationship.
Still be in Chicago.
Yeah.
Like still work for his place. I guess he's a veterinarian, so I guess that's probably not too much you can do remote, but you
probably prescribe pills remotely, perhaps.
VR veterinarian.
Yeah.
He's gonna be a veterinarian in the metaverse.
Ooh, I hear those are in demand these days. For all those virtual dogs. And those darn sickly cat emojis they keep.
The horrible looking apes. But
her leg healed faster than usual.
Wadfam Chalkpot
couldn't be
NFT
me.
is coming soon.
Ooh. Dylan as a bored ape? With the headphones and the mic? And the Power Boy logo? Make that happen. Michaela.
No.
Michaela.
No.
Bored Ape
Michaela.
NFT.
Well, okay. I think a Bored Ape Wadfam Chalkpad shirt would be funny.
Yeah.
We cannot NFT.
No. I have no interest.
I'm just making sure the audience understands that part is a bit.
Yes. Not as much as you would think. Like, there's still some level of
It's a
seriousness.
bit. It's entirely a bit for me. Get out of here, Andrew. Go start your own NFT cast.
No NFT cast. I just want a Bored Ape. Like, I want a Bored Ape made of my likeness and put on a shirt. I don't even want to own the shirt. I just want to see what it would look like.
Well, Michaela and other artists who listen, you know how to get in contact. So the episode then ends with Connie narrating her own life, and it makes me smile.
Yeah.
And in the run up to it, I went, oh, that's right, this episode ends in Connie narrating her own life. Like, we're in that final scene, and I had the flash forward where I was like, wait, Mandy didn't narrate her own life. This episode goes out on narration. Oh, yeah, that's right, it's Connie. It spreads like a virus.
It does spread. I mean,
love it.
probably... Maybe depends on the virus. I think it's less contagious than some of the viruses we see these days. But
Yeah, it spreads like a virus. Has way more baggage now than it used to.
I mean, it spreads like a 2007 virus.
Hey.
Yeah. So what is this alternate ending, Dylan?
Yeah. So the episode initially ended with the Strasberg parents getting back together, but moving to Chicago.
Oh.
The Strasbergs were going to Chicago.
Okay.
In part was because Arya Curzon was moving and no longer going to be able to do the show.
Yeah.
However, she decided not to move then.
Arya Curzon?
Yes, through whatever circumstances. I don't know her life.
Love to
and
see
they
it.
recorded a new closing scene, which is the one that we get. Mm-hmm. The original closing scene, had the Strasbergs come to Wits End and be eating there, and Connie have a conversation with Connie and tell her, hey, we're moving to Chicago, and then we still end on Connie narrating. Possibly the same narration.
Probably.
You can listen to the alternate ending on the club.
Oh, interesting. There's a there's a line in that last scene that seems like it could have been taken from the other ending where she's like, where we live isn't as important as living together, which seems like what the other episode was going to fall down on.
I have a feeling it's the same ending narration. I would have to play it back. But it's interesting because they talking about like, hey, like, we don't have to write her off. She's going to be around. Like, we want to do more stories with the Strasberg family. This is the last episode that any Strasbergs appear in aside from Mandy. Because this is album 49.
And Mandy only comes back album 50, right?
Mandy is back for 2 episodes in album 50, barely in 1, has another that's pretty central, and then is out.
Yep.
And there is part of me that wishes
that they actually just let her move away.
Right. that we kind of had this like clean closure to it. Them moving to Chicago to stay together as a family, I think packs a better weight than what like he gives up that job and moves back. Though there's still depth to that. Like,
no, it makes
neither of them are bad.
The way that his job was portrayed originally, it seemed like it was kind of stuff isn't working out here, so I'm pursuing options elsewhere. It works out. So it makes a little bit more sense that he's less invested in it and willing to, give up on it and, find something elsewhere. But yeah, no, considering the amount of characters in Odyssey that just disappear and don't actually get endings, the fact that they had this one written out and it was a little bit different. They recorded it. Yeah, they had it done, and they didn't release it. This is mildly disappointing, but
yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't think it's a big.
I'm just sad that there's no more Mandy.
Big thing they botched. So this is the other thing that I can't totally be mad about, is because that one episode that she's there in album 50 is like core Trenton Mandy like text. And so I do need that episode for my childhood to be complete.
Fair.
But from a like the weird
How
way.
old is she in that episode? Is she in like high school and stuff?
I don't think so.
Okay, sure. She's still like the same age.
Yeah, it's the next album
Yeah.
after this. Here's the other thing I wanted to talk about from the official guide, just kind of putting a cap on this story. I thought about bringing it up at the beginning of it, but didn't want to spoil the way this all plays out.
Mm-hmm.
So this is Hubler writing, though I'm sure getting input from everyone, but often in trying to find the balance between role models and reality, they've touched on broken families without going into the details of how such things happen and those consequences. Like we've run up against a lot of families in Odyssey that are not like your typical family, but that's always a thing that's in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was a thing that they wanted to do, especially with it being a show about families.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's what Odyssey is. But they kind of, they were struggling with how to do this. And but eventually kind of decided like the benefits of dramatizing such a story would outweigh the potential problems. They gave themselves 2 stipulations, which I think is really interesting. The first is that each episode in the arc needed a strong takeaway lesson, which I think is a solid stipulation.
Yeah.
We've talked in the past about episodes in bigger arcs where it's just like this episode is just serving a function.
Yeah, it's
not actually right. It's not actually doing anything other than serving this current story. And I think for a series that gets darker and more real than a lot of it, and there's dealing with depression and whatnot, like having a takeaway at the end benefits it. And I think it is incredibly well done, where we've also talked about episodes where the takeaway feels very shoehorned in, and this saga does not do that.
Not at all. No. And it feels very natural we are going to present these complex situations and feelings in a way that is true to our, ministry and our production company and everything, but that is not watered down. We're still dealing with these emotions, and you're still like, kids are exposed to these feelings, but by taking the kid first lens, we're able to process it in a little bit of a different way compared to like a more adult geared program that would obviously focus more on the personal shortcomings of both the parents, whereas this feels a lot more like a very tastefully done episode of Mr. Rogers, if I can give it that high of a compliment, where it's like, yes, we can engage with these topics, we can make kids relate to them and feel something to it, while also equipping them to move forward with it, to not just encounter something yucky and feel helpless, but to encounter something yucky and feel like you learn something about the bad thing. Cool. Love to see it. So sad that I literally never heard this until this time. I like Odyssey so much more now, and also hate it more, but
funny what this show does. It's like interrogating the texts of your childhood as an adult has implications. The other stipulation they gave themselves is that the Strasbergs would not initially divorce, but separate. And their ultimate fate would be one of healing.
Yeah.
And I get that. I think that they did a really good job of still giving it weight while knowing that that's the end game.
Yeah.
Much like we talked about when Mitch died. Where it's like, going way back in our show, but like where that has dramatic weight in the show, even though the writers know that he's not dead. They still, they don't cheat it.
Yeah.
They don't do the thing where he's immediately back, or where they immediately reveal that to us. They let us live in the world where this dude is dead and the characters have to grapple with that.
Well, yeah, and I genuinely didn't know if Mandy's parents were going to get a divorce or
Right,
not. See me
right.
3 episodes being like,
And so that's what I think that this does very well. Yeah, and they talk about like wanting to model how parents could come back from the brink, and kind of that like portraying that there is still hope in this situation.
Yeah.
That like the fate is not decided.
Definitely.
Which I think, is powerful.
And
And they didn't do it in a way that undermined that.
No.
Because the thing you don't want to do in that is set up a scenario in which it can always be solved and your parents will never split up. But by having Mandy deeply grapple with what if they don't get back together,
what does that mean for God? What does that mean for
Right.
me? What does that mean for life?
By forcing her to grapple with that, I think they portrayed well of what could, like, of even if this didn't go the way it did, you're still kind of equipped from these episodes, or you, like, it's still helpful. It's not a narrative that's going to hurt the people whose relationships don't come back together, I hope. I guess I can't truly speak to that because it's not my experience.
Yeah.
But for my 2 cents, I think they struck a good balance.
No, definitely. Well, and I mean, it's focused on the family. They're going to have parameters. Obviously, not getting them divorced right away definitely saves a bit of face and allows them to kind of live in the gray a bit easier. So I think it makes sense that they would make those decisions. But yeah, it's really cool. I'm thoroughly pleased with this arc, and I'm really surprised that Odyssey did such a good job with it, honestly. Even listening to this, and then what was the episode we covered that had Grady in it?
Only by His Grace.
Only by His Grace. All the Grady stuff and his family during this era of the show, they really tried to branch out as far as what kinds of people were represented by the characters of Odyssey. And what kind of stories they were going to be able to tell. And so it's so cool to see them come through in a very cohesive, collective way that is true to the show and what it's always been, but also pushing the boundaries of what the show has done and what the show can do, and kind of where we're willing to go with it.
Yeah. I am so happy we got to cover these episodes. I'm so glad that they held up and that I feel like there was text for me to mine as an adult listening to them. Is just like a cool thing that I like that we get to do in this show from time to time.
Yeah, definitely. I can't wait to do that with Aloha Away.
Hey,
I'm sure there's going to be some rich texts plumbed.
well, look, before we get to that, I don't know if there's anything you want to plug here. I'm plug free. Aside from, wanted to shout out the 10 people who have given us reviews on Spotify.
10 people.
We now have a 4.5 star.
Heck yeah.
On Spotify. I don't know how their stars round. I'd love to get that up to a 5, but 4.5 feels good.
Better than my GPA.
Yep.
Anyway.
Nobody's GPA is a 4.5, basically.
No, I was taking it as a percentage out of 100, like 4.5 out of
like
5
90%.
Yeah, it's like 90%. Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Regardless, then you should have said grade, not GPA.
Thank you. You're right.
That's fine. But yeah, so thank you for the people who left those ratings, and I don't know if those are global or if they're localized like the iTunes ones. Like, I have no idea if you are in Canada, if you see us with 10 ratings at a 4.5, or if you see something entirely different. So, feel free to email me and let us know. And then, additionally, just ratings and reviews on Apple Podcasts, always appreciated. If you leave a 5-star review, we will read it off, and that's always fun, in my opinion.
Can you read Spotify reviews on?
They're not reviews, they're just ratings. You're the one who taught me that, Andrew.
Yep.
So that is all I've got for this week. Yeah, as always, have a good one, and we will see you in a week for episode 256. Aloha. Oi! Part 1.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
WadFam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Co-op. This show is a fan podcast and has no official affiliation with Adventures in Odyssey or Focus on the Family. As such, the copyright is ours under Creative Commons. Follow the podcast at WadFamChalkPod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. Life in the Third Person Part 2 was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Acebo, and edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverstick, hoping you'll join us again next time for more of the WadFam Chalk Pod.